Yesterday I was working on this project that's a calendar for the entire year of 2018. And it uses local storage so that you can type little notes, whatever you want to, in here, and then you can save it, and you can go out of this and it'll save whatever it is you type for that particular day. I didn't mind the code so much. It was pretty simple as far as the 3 JavaScript functions that I have. What I didn't like was this really long-winded from line 29 all the way to 2047. A lot of redundant code. This over and over and over again for every single text area. So I wanted to find a better way. I wanted to find a JavaScript code that would create the table for me. And in looking on the internet, I found this. JavaScript creates this table. Now, I didn't create a table as long as a whole year. I wanted to make something small until I figure out how to manipulate these elements so that I can use local storage and, do everything that I did in this, and try to also make it look more like this instead of this. But I'm just trying to understand the DOM and how to manipulate this the same way I did this. Now, instead of thousands of lines of code just to create 371 individual days for a whole year, this I got from codeacademy.com, and the coder, it says it was submitted by Roy over 3 years ago, and the title, if you want to look it up yourself, is JavaScript Array versus HTML Table Demonstration. So this is where I got what I have so far, except that he didn't have a text area inside each of these table data cells. I had to figure out how to put that in myself. So let's go on ahead real quick and look at the code for that. Okay, just for that little snippet that I showed you, this is an individual page. Doc type declaration, HTML, head, title, style, real simple style for the table, simple style for the table data cell, and a simple style for the text area. All right, now let's look at the function, because that's really all that I cared about. The script, I gave it a silly name. I don't care, no particular reason, but it's called function doozer. And we start off with creating a bunch of variables. Var R, which is short for array, body, tab, which is short for table, tr for the table row, td for the table data cell. I created txa for the text area, tn for the text node, row for our row, and call for our columns. Next, we're going to create an array that has 5 rows and 7 columns. This is going to establish my January month. So we're just going to call it ARR, set it equal to all of this information enclosed in straight brackets. Each row is designated by its own straight bracket inside and separated with a comma. So that's the first row of January. Here's the second row of January, second week, second row, same thing. The third week or third row of January, fourth row, and fifth row. Okay, so that's how I make January, and there's the entire code for that. The next line of code that he showed was this: body equals document.get elements by tag name, parentheses and quotes, body, and then in straight brackets 0. Next line was tab equals, again short for table, equals document.create element, parentheses and quotes, table. And don't forget your semicolons at the end of each of these statements. Then we have a nested for loop. So we have an outer for loop that encloses all of this. We have an outer loop that starts here and does this much, and then we do an inner for loop that goes from here to here. When we finish the inner for loop, we have another statement that actually finishes up before the end of the outer for loop, because this right here ends the outer for loop. So it's kind of like a shell. This is the outer shell of the for loop, and this is the inner for loop. So let's look at that. For row equals 0, row less than r dot length, row plus plus. tr equals document.create element, parentheses and quotes tr. And now let's look at the inner for loop. I'll just do a little bit of it at a time. For call equals 0, call less than r in straight brackets row dot length, call plus plus. td equals document.create element in parentheses and quotes td. And then I had to create txa for my text area equals document.create element in parentheses and quotes text area. And then he had this code, tn equals document.create text node. And then in parentheses, we have the name of our array, arr, r, and then in straight brackets row, and in straight brackets column. The next three statements, this was his line, td.append child, parentheses tn, and then this I had to make mine because I had to find where my text area would go. So I'm looking at the patterns of all these different statements, and I'm trying to say, okay, now where is my text area code? Where's it going to belong? And I tried a few different things and made mistakes, but once I got to this particular line, it worked. So I have td.append child in parentheses my txa for my text area, and then finally tr.append child parentheses td. So the only thing that I had to do was this line. I had to figure out where it went. I had to figure out what side txa went on. Did it go on this side or this side? Because obviously I don't have a full understanding of the DOM and how to do this. And the same thing with this. I had to figure out which one of these lines of code am I going to imitate and where do I put it, and I got lucky. All right, so after the inner for is done, we've got that single statement that belongs again to the outer for, tab, short for table, dot append child, parentheses tr, which stands for table row. And then we have our ending semicolon here for this whole outer inner nested for loop situation. Out of that, we have body.append child, parentheses tab. So the body is going to tack on a new table, I guess. I guess that's what that statement means. And then here's the end of the function, end of the script, end of the head. So here's the opening body tag. The only thing it does is use its onload event to call the doozer function. And I just read the doozer function to you. So the opening body tag and closing body tag, there's no code at all. None. And there's the end of the HTML. What a difference. Nothing in the body with his code, which lets the JavaScript create the table, compared to thousands of lines of code that I did in the body of my code. So all I need to do, this is my second version, obviously. My third version is putting the two things together, his code plus my code, to get my final product looking more like this, but without all that thousands of lines of code that I had to use yesterday. So this is just my update. This is going to be my version 2. My version 3 will be the end result.